Sauce.
Hey, you like Pez?
It looks like that. Here's Heaney from the boundary line. He's an expert at these. From the boundary line!
Hello and welcome to Behind the Boundary podcast. I'm your host Pez. I'm here with Sauce. We just came from a massive round 4. We will head into a massive round 5 for Gather Round in Adelaide. But a couple of good results in round 4, Sauce.
G'day, Pez. Yeah, excited about Gather Round, but also excited to review last week's round because it was a big round of footy. There were a couple of very close ones. Leah helping out Port Adelaide, a come-from-behind upset against the Swans.
Yeah, it was very intense that last few minutes, that Port Adelaide game, with both the lead changing multiple times. Finlayson kicking the snap around the corner, which watching it on my phone when I was at the St Kilda game, I thought that it had missed on the left-hand post, but you can't really tell from your phone screen. So the goal umpire was there, he's kicked the goal, and Florent had a chance, 40 metres out. He thought he kicked it, they were celebrating as if they'd won, and didn't happen in the end.
Didn't happen in the end, and it was quite funny watching the footage back on it, and Ollie Florent's reaction, him laying on the ground, getting mobbed, and then what happened? What happened? Hands out. Very good, and basically, I don't know why anyone didn't block Leah, and it would have solidified the win for the Swans and for the podcast as well, Piers.
Yeah, a few people have been saying that. I don't think it would have made a massive difference personally. I know you should have a body there, but Leah surely would have jumped over the top.
He had a clear run at it, Pez. He had about a metre away.
He had a clear run, but
just put a body on him and he probably doesn't get up.
Didn't travel. So I think Port Adelaide still would have got it, but Sydney coach would have been devastated because they needed to have multiple bodies there to try and stop that. And if we see a kick after the siren in any quarter this week, watch for the whole team to be on that goal line.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I was watching it with my girlfriend, and she said the old, they should just stack 3 or 4 people on top of everyone else's shoulders. I said, well, that wouldn't work because one bump and they'd all fall down. But realistically, someone on the goal line is what you need to do. Speaking of big things on the weekend, we had the Good Friday match. 60,000 people, almost 60,000 people. But North Melbourne came out in absolute spades, as well as the Carlton fans. And for an entertaining, Good Friday match,
a successful one,
about time,
which is very good. So those clubs will keep it for a little bit. The Carlton fans always come out, and especially when they're up and about. But North Melbourne didn't disappoint, even though the Carlton, laid off them in the end, and North kicked the last 4 goals to make it a little bit closer. But the first half was actually very entertaining, so that was good. The Collingwood fans were shattered on Twitter because
very quiet. Sorry, I didn't even know if they were still fans anymore.
Not the ones that I saw, because they were going on how they're going to beat Brisbane without a ruckman, do all those sorts of things, and then they lost. Cam Rayner kicking 4 goals and having a career best day in his 91st game.
Tell you what, the experiment surely has got to be done with him as a backman.
Yeah, he'll be playing forward again this week.
Couple of high flyers, nice little marks around the body goals. He that one in that first quarter where he broke through the middle of the pack from about 50 out. That was incredible. And
if anyone knew he was paying forward, someone commented on TikTok, $125 for 4 he was paying.
Yeah, not bad odds. Not bad odds. I bet you that's come in this week.
yeah, would have come in a lot. But the Collingwood fans, they're just all about excuses now and why they didn't win. It doesn't matter that they didn't win. They should be in the top 4, even though they're sitting outside the 4, and there's shit clubs inside the top 4. It's all over the place, Collingwood Twitter.
It definitely is, and that's why you try and stay off Twitter and not listen to any of those Collingwood fans at the best of times. But tell you what, Pez, the Geelong Premiership defence is up and going, and it's in first gear now.
Yep, we'll leave that there. And this is not about Geelong, Sauce. I know they had a win, but they should have done it a lot easier than they did. That first half was a bit of a struggle. But interesting thing in that game, I want your view on this. The noodle sign that was held with 6 minutes to go in the second quarter, Hawthorn up by 8 points. What do you think it means?
Well, I know what it means. It came out in the AFL this week, and it means that it indicates to the players that it's going to be a slippery and sloppy game of football in the wet.
I did not read that.
It seriously is. That. They had the game plan up because it's wet and it's hard to handle.
So they changed the game plan so they hold the noodles up.
Yeah, and as if AFL football players couldn't work out that it's friggin' raining as well. It's I'll be getting a little bit wet here. Oh, that must be beers from the crowd.
They're surely taking the piss and want to put one weird sign up every single week.
I just liked all the memes that came out after of just these random items that were being held up. Hilarious.
Like I thought originally when I first saw it, the picture without the scoreboard there, it's 2 minutes to go, 2 minute noodles.
Oh, that would have been clever.
But there was 6 minutes to go when I had to look back at it. So
maybe it's the Aldi brand, the 6 minute noodles instead of the 2 minute noodles.
You know, funny you say that. I tried them and they are shocking.
Well, when
They
I
taste
came in,
like
you
rubber.
were getting into some 2 minute noodles.
Yeah, well, you got to eat the
Chicken
noodles.
or beef? Chicken or beef?
Nah, chicken.
Nah, chicken. What do you mean? It was a 2 option thing. You can't say nah. I was giving you 2 options.
Nah, chicken cooked on the stove. It's
Juice. Do you let it sit in the juice and have it with the juice, or do you just strain it?
strain. I'm a non-juiceman.
So the sign wouldn't have worked for your game plan, mate. It was just a little bit dry, not slippery and slobbery.
Yeah. So
Who thought in round 5, going into gather round, that we'd be talking about slippery and sloppy 2 minute noodles? But when we should be talking about gather round, and it's been absolute, really hyped up this week, and every single Adelaide legend has come through. I was listening to Malcolm Blake. Malcolm Blake.
he got on his bike a few times.
He did. Listen to him talk about it, and then comparing how great it is for Adelaide, and it'll be interesting to see if everyone makes it out for gather round. But very exciting.
It's not bad. I've been to Adelaide once before to watch Adelaide St Kilda at Adelaide Oval, and it was a good, ground to go
They
to.
love their
Very
footy.
good ground to watch footy, but there wasn't much else to do in the city unless you wanted to go to church. So hopefully for gather round, they'll have a lot of people travelling through, and they'll have some other things up and about for families to
They've
go
got
to.
the Festival of Footy going there. They've got the gather round thing. There's a lot of live music. There's set up little precincts, which we've been talking about for a couple of years now. Adelaide have come out with their gather round jersey, looking wow.
Horse.
Looking
Smick.
so good. It
How
brings me,
good.
it sort of reminds me of like the 96, 97 when they had that big crow on there. Who's the players that you think of with that jersey? That's sort of a similar sort of style.
McLeod. You do think of Rashudo, even though I don't like him in the media at the moment and listening to his voice, but they're the players you think of. Freo brought out a really nice one as well.
Yeah, the stealth jersey. Hopefully they wear it this week, and the stealth with the purple on purple.
It's a bit sneaky though, isn't it? The Adelaide bringing out their jersey before the coin toss of who the home team actually was.
Surely they win the coin toss.
And
I mean, the gather rounds in Adelaide.
They've brought out a darkish jersey playing against Carlton, who the navy blues. It
Already
wouldn't work.
The mental games happen already. Already the mental games have
It
started.
wouldn't work. So the coin toss, apparently Port Adelaide and Adelaide both won.
Very convenient.
So they're the home teams in Adelaide. But for the other teams, it's good. You get the home change rooms. You get to choose your kit that you wear, I'm pretty sure. So
some of these outer venues, though, Pez, they've got some games at Norwood Oval. Norwood Oval, do you know much about Norwood Oval?
no, I just know that it's a Samful club.
Samful club.
And a lot of AFL players have played there before.
Extremely narrow. So the most narrow ground by a fair margin. If you look at Geelong, it's got about 10 metres closer than, it's 10,
So it's
10
not,
metres more
not
narrow.
wide, so no wings. pretty
No
much.
wings. It's very narrow, and it'll be interesting for Fremantle to play this week, considering that
Do we have
defensive
the
brand of
length
football.
in the size? Or
I do
anything?
have the
or what
length
it's
of it.
similar to.
It's as I said, it was similar to the GMHBA Stadium, Alphabet Stadium there, Pez. The actual measurements for Norwood Oval is 165 by 110. So, I guess Adelaide Oval, if you in comparison, is 167 by 123. If you're looking at the G is 160 by 141. So a significant difference in not so much length, but how narrow it is, which means you're going to find a lot of more throw-ins this weekend. You'll have a lot of players kick the ball out in the full probably, but it's probably come at a good time for Fremantle. I know they play at Norwood Oval, and we'll speak about this in the breakdown, but that defensive swinging of game has sort of been found out a bit. It'll be good for them to be able to just go direct and up the middle, and they've got no choice at Norwood Oval.
Yeah, well, it's going to be hard, isn't it? Depending which way it does go, because you're not going to be able to kick it back, what they're doing on the back line with Luke Ryan at the moment. So interesting for disposal markets, and interesting for goal kickers as well, because will it be higher scoring or will it be lower scoring?
It'll be very interesting. I went back and did a little bit of digging through the Sandful to find out if it affected scores and that. It didn't really affect the difference in scores, but I guess Norwood and people would be used to playing in that sort of ground. If you look at Geelong, when Geelong play at their ground, and that's probably the smallest ground or more narrow ground over the last 10 years that they're using as a regular venue, the contested footy goes up a heap, and the scoring goes up a heap too. But it's hard to tell because Geelong obviously have been quite a dominant side down there. But throw-ins go up by about 15%. So if you're looking for possessions this weekend, looking more those contested players playing at those grounds.
Midfield players.
But it's really hard to tell because at the same time, when you look at the stats at GMHBA Stadium, because Geelong play more of an uncontested brand of football, the uncontested stats are up.
All right.
The other ground that they're using is the Hills. I think it's called Hills Adelaide Oval.
I heard it's about 40 minutes outside the city of Adelaide.
Yep, but it's the exact same dimensions as the MCG. So that's just some
And
interest for you.
Is that Brisbane, North Melbourne, I think?
Brisbane and
They're
North
playing down
Melbourne,
there.
they're playing there, and that's probably all you need to know. Talk about that game,
Yeah,
North Melbourne and Brisbane.
See, the rest are at Adelaide Oval. So hopefully it's going to be a really good weekend if anyone is going up there. I know there's shuttle buses and flights. I guess you would have had to book them pretty early because I'm guessing they might be a little bit expensive now. I'm
probably
not sure.
There's probably never been a rush to get to Adelaide ever. I don't
Oh,
think.
this is the biggest rush. This is the biggest thing to happen to Adelaide since Adelaide was born.
Since I was born,
What else has happened?
I mean, it's a
in
good
Adelaide?
time for Dawson to be able to take over the mayorship or own the club of
He already
Adelaide.
owns Adelaide. He owns Port Adelaide after the showdown.
Oh, Jesus.
And he owns the whole city. So Mayor Jordan Dawson, will he be wearing his crown on the weekend or on tonight?
One interesting thing, though, that I did take from the gather round is we spoke just before about the Fremantle travelling over to Adelaide, of course, that they stayed up there for the week. So that they went up last week. They played Adelaide. They got absolutely pantsed. They've stayed up the week. But they have absolutely, the AFL, screwed over Fremantle's supporter base. So tomorrow, their game starts at our time, 5:10, which in Perth, the game starts at 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. So if you're anyone who's working the 9 to 5, no chance of watching Fremantle take
It'll
on
be
Gold
over
Coast.
by the time you walk out the office.
Yeah, I mean, it's just silly. There's 16 other clubs that could have been played at that time slot, which would have been pretty fine. Any Melbourne side, 5 o'clock, 5:10, boom, straight from work onto the pub, would have been perfect.
Because of time zones.
But Fremantle...
So now they've got to be sneaking KO on their phone at their desk or...
Depends
whatever
how they
they
go
are.
against the Gold Coast. It might be a good excuse to work late if they put on the performance they had earlier.
It could be. Yeah, they've done the dirty there. That's not too good. But here behind the boundary, we are, always held accountable for things. So let's get into our bet review for round 4.
Soft review. It's no official review. How does it end? We don't know. They've kind of lost, but they've won as well.
Oh, here we are back for a huge round 4 this was. It was a very, very nice one. And our bet slip, which you can get on Twitter.
Looking
at
very
behind
full.
The boundary.
Looking very full.
It's very full. There were a lot of plays out there. And just in reflection, thinking there was a lot of live plays out there because you know how we don't know teams on a Wednesday or a Thursday, especially for the Sunday games, and there is a lot of value to be had. So they all went out live on Twitter, and we were quite successful with those as well. So the first game was Brisbane and Collingwood, and I had a bet in this one, and I just wanted to go disposals. I had 15 plus for Will Ashcroft, still one of my favourite players to watch. He had 25. Coleman for 15, he got that in the last quarter there. Adams for 15 as well, that was quite easy, and Dunkley for 20. All easy, except for Seal Sidebottom, who needed 15 disposals. Didn't use him out on the wing source. He had 2 in the first quarter, 2 in the second, 2 in the third, and 6 in the last. He was everywhere in the last quarter.
He was nowhere to be seen in the first half of footy.
First 3 quarters, he was
Not even
6
one of those
disposals.
ones where he's running around and like just give him the ball. But he was nowhere to be seen. So
And in some cases, he's out on the outside of the pack, and you're hoping the ball rolls out to him, especially when you got him in there. But it was no good. So I got a bonus bet back for that source, which I used later in the round quite successfully.
Yeah,
So-
speaking of a bonus bet, one of my plays was the Brisbane money line at $2.02. I loved the value of Brisbane. That got up with a bonus, so a nice little 1 unit profit there. And then I also had a 3-leg same game multi. A 2-leg same game multi. I had Harris Andrews to get 15 or more. He did that pretty convincingly. And as I spoke last week, it was a bit disappointing that the news of Crisp came up right before that game. I'd already put the bet down, and I was stuck in a place where I could have had no bet and lost the play, I guess, and lost the opportunity of a bonus bet, or as we said, free hit anyway. So I put it down. He only got 15, needed him for 20, so I had a bonus bet for that one. Bit disappointing.
Yeah, 5-year-old video, didn't get suspended by the AFL or by the Collingwood Footy Club.
Affected my bet. So whoever's releasing this shit, just wait.
Just embarrassment out there, and whoever's releasing, I don't need to see that either because I saw more of Jack Crisp than I needed to, and you didn't see enough of him on Thursday night.
I would have taken a happy medium, mate. I would have taken a happy medium, to be honest.
Well, the next Friday was Good Friday because North Melbourne and Carlton, and it was good for my bet as well because I went with the sports bet special, but it didn't need it in the end. Anytime goal scorer in the first half, Charlie Curnow, spoke about that last week in trying to get extra value. Carlton to win under 193.5 total points, ended at 191, I'm pretty sure their source, and Luke McDonald to to get 15 plus, nice and easy. So a unit on that, and it was paying $2, so returned a unit.
Yeah, I had Zach Fisher to get 15 or more. I spoke last week about how they're using him a lot more. He ended up with 28, so probably gone a little bit higher on that one, and guarantee you won't be getting $1.40 for him to get 15 this week. And then the second leg was LDU, and he was everywhere around the ground, but didn't have any attempts at goal. There was a couple of times where he was a breakaway, and he looked like he was going to have a shot, but missed out on that one. So a bonus bet for Good Friday for me. Or not so Good Friday, actually, if I don't get a bet. But
yeah. We go to a twilight, unless you had one in the earlier game there. Sauce doesn't matter. Richmond versus the Bulldogs. I put in one of my 2022 specials, which I spoke about last week, with alternate lines on both teams and alternate over-unders. So Richmond plus 12.5, Bulldogs plus 43, over 124, under 194. Got it to $2 at Ladbrokes, got one back, and copped a bit of stick for that bet out on the TikTok video. It's a pussy bet. Apparently. So, take a unit, get a $2 bet and win it, and it's no good apparently.
No good at all, Pez. No good.
I don't know what am I meant to do. I'll go back to losing like round 3.
Yeah, speaking of losing, you can speak of the game you skipped over. I was, if I was any other podcast and we shied away from our losses, then I would have just continued on talking. But I actually had a bonus bet, Pez, in the earlier game, the Adelaide versus Fremantle. For some reason, starting at bloody 2 o'clock. I don't know why they're not starting at the 1 o'clock on the traditional Saturday time slot. And in that game, I had Isaac Ranking to kick 2 or more goals. He did that in the first half. And Lockie Scholl, 15 or more. First time in the last 10 games that he missed it. Ended with 14. It's a little bit disappointing that I couldn't get my bonus bet.
You know what he did as well? Because I was watching.
He got pinned with holding the ball.
Holding the ball.
Yep.
Just in the last quarter.
And had so many opportunities. Just give the hand out.
It's a little handball. You just not to get smothered. A little handball out. Would have got it there. But when you put that bet out there, Sauce, Lockie Scholl, I was like, I haven't really heard of this bloke. So Sauce must be clutching at straws.
Not clutching at straws, just looking at the analyst pairs. And look, he got 14, should have had 15, so not going to be one of those blokes that says should have, could have, would have, but so mind your business on your bets, Pez.
Oh, all right. Well,
how many units are you down for the season?
We'll speak about Adelaide. Speak about Adelaide Fremantle still, and I put my bonus from Thursday night down, so it's not always a massive deal if you do lose a bonus, because I put this little beauty down paying $3 at Hayden Young to get under 22.5. Thought that line was way too big for the defender there. 20 plus to Jordan Dawson. He's gone into the midfield. That was nice and easy. 15 plus for Richali. He also kicked a couple of goals, 3 goals, I think.
He was looking a bit shifty for 15 at 3/4 time. Had a big last quarter.
He was on 10 with your mate Scholl. And then picked up 9. So nice and easy.
Could have helped my mate out a bit.
I had Rankin anytime goal scorer first quarter there. So that was $3. So I put the bonus bet back on it. So profited 2 units back from that.
I'm looking at this bet slip, Pez, and the games are all over the place here. Nothing's in order because of all the live bets. So I think the next game was Sydney Port Adelaide or the St Kilda Gold Coast.
Same time.
Well, let's go with the St Kilda Gold Coast one, because I had a win in that one. So let's start off with that. I had a bonus bet that I picked up from the Friday night, St Kilda versus Gold Coast. Just a nice little one. St Kilda money line, Mason Wood for 20 disposals, $2.05. I had my bonus bet on that, so that was a nice easy win. Mason Wood's looking good there. Everyone keeps talking about Ross Lyon being the one who's reinvented his career, but towards the end of last year they put him into that role, and that's been getting that quite consistently.
Strong marks. His defensive plays are really good. He's kicking is absolutely elite to start the season, and he had a bit of a bung shoulder, so when you put this bet out, I had a look at it and I was like, oh, hopefully he doesn't get subbed out early or anything, but
perfect.
Easy 20 for Wood, and that was all good there. Now I used the blue bet special, which didn't need it in the end, but St Kilda to win $1.51, had 2 units on it, so I profited a unit 0.02, and that was done at half time, so that paid out, and that was nice and easy there.
Yeah, I had, we'll go on to the next game, the Sydney versus Port Adelaide. We already sort of spoke about it before, Aaliyah getting that very handy touch on the goal line from Ollie Florent. I went 0 for 3, Pez. I got absolutely straight bowled there. And if he kicked that goal, I would have got a bonus bet, because it would have put them over 13 goals. It would have put them at 14. They would have had the win, but and the line. But instead, Aaliyah's giant mitts may not go 0-3 and not even a bonus bet, just 2-unit loss. Very disappointing.
Just lost, especially when you put the 2 units on it. But you speak about the 2 units, and you had a little multi there.
I did have
well.
a little multi. I had St Kilda, Geelong, which both got the job done, and I had Sydney in there as well. So it was very costly, that Sydney loss. But I did happily escape that one with a 2-unit bonus bet, with the bet return on Sportsbet.
Yeah, so I had a multi as well with lads. I used my bonus bet that I got the week before, and I had Carlton, who won, St Kilda, and Sydney. And it would have got me, 1.44 profit, but Sydney couldn't get the job done. But I also had a multi with Ladbrokes.
You were that happy with it? You doubled down with it and added the Cats in?
And added the Cats, and that was 276. And I did it because the Ladbrokes had the 4+ head-to-head special. And I do get a bonus bet back for that, but I was really hoping that goal went through at the end because that's like a 4.5 unit swing.
And I was watching the game in that last 2 or 3 minutes. Three lead changes. A huge mark by Himmelberg. Huge mark with just the one hand juggling as he's falling. And
you got to speak about Sydney being 20 points up in that last quarter as well.
What about them being 24-0 in the first quarter?
I was checking the score. It was like 30 something.
I turned it on and I'm like, I had it on in the background while I was playing some cards, and I stopped. I turned away and was just kept playing. And I looked back up and I'm like, holy shit, they're down at half time.
Well, first time I looked, it was 30 to like 5, and then the second time I looked, Port Adelaide were 36 to 30, and I was like, what the bloody hell's going on?
And I'm sitting there cheering for the over 13.5 goals, and they've got 6 up into quarter time. I thought, I'm looking good here, and then look at half time, and I'm like, oh my god, what happened?
Yep,
disappointing.
I think we can move on to the Sunday here with the live bets.
I still haven't moved on.
Essendon GWS, that was the first game there. So I put together one with Ladbrokes with the special, which I didn't need again, but GWS plus 28.5, over 156.5, and this bet, which I've never bet on before, but Lockie Whitfield 70+ AFL fantasy points.
Who did you steal that bet from?
I didn't steal it from anyone.
You don't even do the footy fantasy stuff.
I had a look at it, in the Neds, and I was like 70+. I was like 70 is a bit low, isn't it? And then I checked the table and took a screenshot of it in case anyone said anything on Twitter. But it's 3 points for a kick, 2 for a handball, 3 for a mark, 4 for a tackle.
Have you looked at what he averages for the season or anything?
Yeah, I had a look, but I thought that he'd be kicking out a little bit. He'd be taking those uncontested marks across the back line. He had 3 or 4 tackles as well, so it really helped. He had the most AFL fantasy points in the game. He had 113, so it was a nice little get, and that was $2.03, 1 unit to win 1.03.
I had a live bet in this one. I was sitting down for Easter, I was going to say Christmas lunch then, but Easter lunch, sitting down looking to put something on, and I was really happy with the value there. One thing I wasn't happy was in bloody where I was having Easter lunch, couldn't get any friggin' reception, so I could only get one of the bets out there. Took forever just to get this one loaded, but anyway, I had 15 for Ash, 20 for McGrath, 30 for Parrish, and 2+ goals, Pez, for your man Toby Green, so we were looking for him. And yeah, it was a bit of a heart sweat into that last quarter.
Get to the last 5 minutes. McGrath needed a couple.
That was a shoo-in.
You had Green needing a goal as well when Essendon had just caught fire.
Yeah, well, lucky they let him back in that last quarter.
The big thing from that game, the running talk from Stringer. You a fan?
No. The big thing from that is me getting the win. It's 325. Sports bet 2 units on it. Boom, 4.5.
2 units. That reeks of desperation, doesn't it?
4.5 units. A little takeaway from that one in terms of profit. Pez.
Reeks of desperation.
No.
Look at that.
But let's get back onto that top since we're talking about desperation. But wow, the running top. Did he do it on purpose? Has he done that on purpose, or is that a miss kick? You never know with the parcel.
He's definitely done it on purpose, the parcel.
Well, he hasn't performed. He's not the package.
Come back. He performed on that. Well, 4 goals 6.
Oh, just Australian Post is right because, 14-day delivery. It doesn't hit every time.
4 goals 6 is all right. So the next game, West Coast, Melbourne. So I just put this one out there. Melbourne wire to wire. I thought there was $1.40 by itself to beat West Coast in the first quarter, and nice and easy. Melbourne.
I did tell you on the show, didn't I? I told you.
But this is where I'm going to look at teams against West Coast. The total game points for them. Melbourne's total game points was 112.5, paying $1.90 Sauce.
Free money.
How is that possible? And Melbourne raced to 50 just to add that in there for a third leg. So if you're looking at the over-unders and total game points against West Coast team, it doesn't come out straight away, but it comes out closer to the game. But I liked that instead of Melbourne's like your line that you had at
I love
minus
that
60,
line.
minus 62.5. So I thought that was a little bit safer. So I've dropped the odds there and gone to that. $2.22 and profited 1.22 units.
It's one of those things where if you're going to have a big win, you're generally going to have a big score. So it's a smart play to have, Pez, and it probably would have been a better play to have than me sitting there watching every single last kick in a 60-point blowout. And with a minute to go, you and I are on the text, Pez, and my phone's being used to record right now, so I can't go through it. But it went something like this. Yep, I'm safe here. Shit. 7-point shit. 1 minute to go. Oh, they're done. Boom, mark. Oh, we're on here. Need a 7-point play. Kicks the point, goes through, and then boom, goes the length of the ground, Pez, to get a mark after the siren kick. And I'm sitting there and I'm on the couch watching this. I'm on my phone.
I was thinking of Ollie
and I'm
Florence.
like, yes. I'm up and about. Goal review. And I'm like, oh, shit. And all I needed was a point to get over the 62.5. Luckily, got it through. 63. Jeez, that was a sweat. But that was a nice little bonus bet for me, Pez. So $3.05 was the odds for that. So a nice little two-unit cleanup for that one.
Well, that and the Essendon game, a little Sunday sesh saved around
And
there.
then I got a little bit yuck. I bought into all the hype of a couple of nice close wins, and I put a bet down on the Geelong versus Hawthorn to finish up the round. And I was pretty happy, Pez, because I had Dangerfield for 20 disposals. He was absolutely killing it. I had Guthrie for 20 disposals. For 15 disposals.
Yeah, he was 20 as well.
He was
yep.
20 disposals. Yeah, you've messed that up there, Pez.
No,
so I had him for 20 disposals, Pez,
up.
and I'm looking down at three-quarter time, and I'm thinking, I am right here. I see Guthrie on there, 19 disposals. You little ripper. Oh, it's his brother. It was Zach Guthrie.
He
And
had
I'm
about
sitting
12 at that stage. Cam Guthrie.
Yeah, he had 12. So then I'm absolutely shitting. Zach Guthrie doesn't get a possession for the whole of fourth quarter, and Guthrie just slowly gets in there. So that got me safe. And then Mark Blitzers, he went off in that first quarter with a pretty nasty sort of
Just a knee to the gut.
a knee to the gut, which is a little bit disappointing. He ended up with 12 for the game. He ended up with 10. He missed by 5, but I escaped with a bonus bet for that, which I'm going to win back this week with Ladbrokes.
Yeah, I think review ended on 9, missed by 6, but it doesn't matter. It's a loss in the end, isn't it?
Stat correction. No one cares about that.
Geelong Hawthorn, I was talking to you about this one, and I just couldn't go past the value here. So the odds for Geelong wire to wire, what I did in the Melbourne game was $1.75 at Ladbrokes, but it was $1.65 or worse at all other bookies. So I was like, all right, they're $1.42 to win the first quarter against Hawthorn. So instead of putting something like that and multing it with others, I'll just go wire to wire, Geelong ML, and Geelong plus 15.5. And the reason I did those other two is in case wire to wire didn't work out, which it didn't, because Hawthorn came out, kicked the first 3 goals, and then led at quarter time and half time. So that $1.75 wasn't there, but I did get a bonus bet, which I'll use this week because of the other couple of plays on Geelong. Yeah,
Hawthorn are one of those teams that I think that the first quarter they're going to be good value, and then the rest of it they're not value at all. I mean, they had a 65-0 third quarter. That's pretty
poor.
That's
one of the worst
for your expert analysis there. That's poor.
One of the worst quarters you can have. But we'll speak about the round. So I ended up staking 9 units in total for a profit of 4.27 units and with 2 bonus bets to use this week. So I'm very happy with my round 4.
Yeah, I had staked 11 units for that, Pez, and a 0.67 units return. So a positive round in the green.
The Sunday sesh.
The Sunday sesh. Love that. But as we've said, Pez, many times, the Sunday is where there is a lot of value. You just got to wait till the teams are released, and it's hard recording so so early in the week.
I'm sure there'll be more live bets this week on Twitter.
I'll tell you what, though, I think felt like that segment took about 10-15 minutes because we had so many bets.
How many bets we got. And if you need to find it, there is a link, as I said, on Twitter at Behind the Bounds. So jump on there and you can follow along with our round 5 bets as well.
You can, Pez. All right, let's get into round 5, the gather round. Let's
gather up.
Gather up.
The fact that the size of the bets was relatively small.
Our bets with an opportunity about 50 metres out.
I was with a mate and we were getting sort of ready to leave, and he said, I think I'm going to whack 10 on Maxi. Do you want some as well? And I said,
Oh, yes! Yes!
All right, Pez, straight into the specials for the gather round.
Cyril takes a special and goes bang.
Even though they've got the best special this season, Sportsbet. They're pissing me off because I read it last night, Sauce.
I've got
and
screenshots both weeks.
It said all games, same game multi, if it doesn't win, you get a bonus bet back. And I had bets down.
So you've done the
before
same thing as
pod
what I did last week.
because that's what it said. And then what happens is they've changed it. And they've changed the wording to all games round 5, but then put a comma, Thursday, Friday, which they didn't have before.
Yeah, whoever their media manager is needs to get the sack, and they need to, the behind the boundary media manager, he's been doing all right this season. Maybe he can get a promotion. But take a leaf out of that bloke's book. Wow. Well, Sportsbet, and when you go to argue with them or you go speak to them, well, they don't have anything.
You're not going to be getting anything with them. But Thursday and Friday, but there is 2 games on the Friday. So there is 3 games possible to use this great special. Now, Bluebet does not have the 12-up special anymore at all, okay? Only for the first 4 rounds. They haven't brought it out yet. So Neds have an early payout, 12+ up at halftime for head-to-head bets on Friday. So there are the 2 games, the Fremantle Gold Coast and the Richmond Sydney. So if you are going to place a head-to-head bet on them anyway, go to Neds. Your first 250 staked will get an early payout if they're up by 12 at halftime. Go to Lads, 3+ leg same game multi if 1 leg's fail. All games this week. So they're doing all games for gather round. So you get a 3+ leg. You have to have 1 leg fail to get the bonus, but it's even better if no legs fail and you just win the bet right at the start.
That is much better, isn't it?
Yeah. And then they've got the NRL AFL mega multi. So you can just multi up 4 AFL games just head to head and get a special back for that if 1 leg fails there as well, Sauce. And then Tab, all games, they've got the 3+ leg same game multi if 1 leg fails, up to $50. And that's all I really like.
With the AFL, NRL special that you're talking about, those 4 legs, if you have got Sportsbet and you've got your bet returns, you're actually better going on there and just putting 3 bets down, 3 results games. It can be line games, and then you can use your bet return there. So a little bit of a sneaky way to, if you like 3 out of the games instead of 4, because obviously the more legs you've got in there, the less chance you have of winning. So,
yeah, definitely.
That's one way to go about it. All right, let's get into the gather round pairs. Adelaide Oval, we start things off with Adelaide taking on Carlton. Adelaide are outsiders at the moment, and this has fluctuated all week. $1.96. They started the week about $2.04, and that's come in obviously with the hype around Adelaide, and there'll be a lot of people in Adelaide probably betting on the footy as well. So $1.84, you can get the favourites for the Blues. -1.5 is the line, and the over/under 171.5 pairs. I spoke to you about this before the game. I actually think Adelaide are, they've been playing some decent sort of football. I think they can make a test here and possibly give Carlton their first loss of the season. Carlton's fun little fact for you, have never won at Adelaide Oval at 6 attempts. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, which is what I was just about to, come back at you.
I know you were. That's why I got in first.
No,
nice little full stop for you.
Actually, in the media this week, Adelaide are being hyped up. Something shocking.
Because they're speaking to all Adelaide people, that's why.
But, I don't understand the hype around Adelaide, which is why I don't understand the odds here either. So I actually don't mind Carlton to win in this. We know that Harry McKay got off. Sam Walsh is named back in the side along with Matthew Kennedy, along with Blake Acres as well. So those 3 ins are absolutely massive. So I've actually gone a few different things in this game.
Of course you have.
Including bonus bets, including the sports bet special, and then still deciding on a third little play in this game here, Sauce. So it's going to be a big Thursday night.
It's going to be a big one. Look out for the TikTok video for this one. 7 different installments for TikTok.
So the first one I've got, which I'll just get it off nice and easy, is a bonus bet. I've got a 3-leg same game multi with Ladbrokes. Carlton, -5.5, alternate line. Over 142.5 total points, but under 217.5 total points. Paying $2.64, and there's my 1 unit bonus on that Sauce. So that's the first play.
That's the first one. That won't get much love because the Adelaide fans will hate that, as well as the complications in the over/under. This one there. I hear that's a pussy sort of bet, isn't it?
that is a specialty pussy bet, which made me over 77 units in season 2022. So I'll stick with it.
Bloody hell! How's your little backhanded?
if it's going to win, I'll stick with the method.
Well played.
This one, Sportsbet, I can't go past the special for this game. And I had a look at the disposal market, Sauce, because they're all out and about for the game. I've gone with Ben Keys to get 15+. He's had 21 in 2 games and 19 in the other 2. So I think he's really good value at $1.25 to get 15+ if you want to include him in your same game multis. The next one I've gone off the grain, because people usually say if they've got 15 or 20 plus, they need to do it 5 times in a row or 10 times in a row and not miss one. But Adam Chera, 20 plus, $1.33. And the reason he's had 21, 25, 28, and he only had 18 last week against North Melbourne. So that doesn't scare me away from him and go, you know what, he's only going to get 18. I think he's a contested type player. I think with the way Adelaide play in the midfield as well, he can get 20 plus. And Jordan Dawson in the middle there, they actually, his contested footy has improved, but they also use him because he's got a beautiful left foot and he doesn't miss a target. So him to get 20 plus at $1.23, he's had 23, 27, only had 18 against Port Adelaide and then 27 as well. But the 18 doesn't scare me because I think he's going to get that 20 plus. I've had to put in there to bump it up a little bit. Carlton plus 18.5 at $1.29. It gets me $2.62, and that's a little free hit there with Sportsbet. I'll take it over to you. I've been speaking a bit.
No, that's fine. I love everything you've said there. I would be cautious about Keys in terms of the 15 or more. If you've got him for 20 because he's looking pretty good value for 20, which you haven't, you've got him for 15.
I'm not touching the 20.
Just be really careful with that because his centre ball attendances have gone down absolutely as the weeks have gone up. And but I love your Dawson bet because Dawson over the last 2 weeks has spent 50% more attendances for centre bouncers, and he really has been that main midfielder.
The thing about Keys as well, he just works his ass off. So even if he's not there, he just runs all day, goes forward, goes back.
That 15 bet is really good, but be very careful because if you look back on the numbers, he's sitting around that 20 mark, but they've actually changed his role completely. So anyway, I'll get into my bet. I've got a 3-leg same game multi, and you said to me that you were worried about. I'm taking the result out of it, so I'm not going to worry about the result at all. 3-leg same game multi with Sportsbet. I've gone Adam Sard to get 20 or more. He's been absolutely dominant, Pez, and he should be able to get that in his sleep. He's done 9 of the last 10, been getting 20 or more, and obviously with the style of football that they've been playing, I think that he'll continue to get that. He takes a lot of the kickouts as well. Rory Sloane, I've got $1.73 to get 20 or more, Pairs. The last 2 weeks, his centre ball attendances have gone up 34% and 26%. They continue to growing. He's had 3 of the last 4 at 20 or more, and he's had 6 of the last 10. Okay, so that sounds a little bit odd, but he hasn't played since the early last year. And then I've also got Dawson, as we just spoke about. He's been absolutely dominant. He's hit 8 of the last 10, 20 or more. That's continued to build, Pez, and I think that will be an absolute lock. I've gone 2 units with that one, 262, okay, with the sports bet, so 1 leg fails bonus bet. And the second one I've gone, Pez.
Oh, you have got, okay, here we go.
I have gone a second bet. It's just a bonus bet. I spoke to you about this last week, but this is our man. You're wearing his shirt in terms of our man, Adam, about to say Adam, Isaac Rankine. I love what he's done, but what I love is the amount of shots that he's getting on goal. So his first 4 rounds, he's kicked 2 goals, 2 goals, 4 goals, 3 goals. But if you look at the last 4 weeks in terms of shots on goal, first week he had 8 shots on goal. Then he had 4 shots on goal, 4 shots on goal, and last week, 8 shots on goal. I've got him for 3 or more with my bonus bet, $3.70. It's a 2-unit bonus bet. I think he's going to be absolutely on fire this week. He's going to love the hype of Adelaide Oval, and he's just great to watch. And he did this again a couple of years ago to us. Starts off on fire, but now with that entry into that forward line, Dawson hitting him, Sloane hitting him, I love the value.
He's loving Adelaide, and he's really improved the culture of that club and just the hype around the players. You can even tell watching the footy. So I'm going to go against the trend as well of the Carlton have never won at Adelaide Oval. And Adelaide gather round.
Is that your rebuttal? Is that your rebuttal finally, is it?
My rebuttal is 1 unit. Bet 365, Carlton minus 2.5 at $1.91.
Here's your rebuttal. Just no. Bet.
Yeah, let's get on the Blues tonight and see if they can get the chocolates.
I think you will be on the Blues, Pez, because I think I think Adelaide are going to win. You'll be a little bit sad while we're watching that footy. Anyway, let's get on to the Friday game, 1 of 2. The first one, it's a twilight game for the Melbourne viewers, but for Perth, it's right in the worst time, your second smoko in the afternoon, that 3 o'clock starting time. Fremantle taking on Gold Coast, $1.59. Favourites are the Dockers, $2.32 outsiders, the Gold Coast Suns, minus 7.5 is the line. And the over-under, 160.5. Pez, can Fremantle make a shift to their season because they've only had 1 win, not very convincing. They have been very, very disappointing this year. Is this a good opportunity for them to bounce back in the schedule?
Oh, it's got to be one of the best opportunities you can have. I don't have a lot of information on Jared Witts. If you know anything about that, if he's going to make a comeback this week?
It was still 50-50. There was likelihood he's probably going to miss. There's a few of the Fremantle players that are. They sent their forward, Taberner, back home. And they've brought over a like-for-like, sort of, not a like-for-like
He's
forward.
been out of form.
But they've sent him back. He didn't even come over, and their replacement is a smaller forward, so it's not going to be as tall. But in this what is it? The waffle last week kicked 2, had a couple of inside 50s, couple of marks.
Yeah, they're going to have to change up a little bit of their game style, Fremantle, to try and get the wins here. Now it is at Norwood Oval, which you spoke about earlier before, and the bookies have it at 157.5, as you said, with the total game points. So I don't rate the Gold Coast at all. I think they don't use Sexton well enough, because Sexton should be playing in that forward line every single week, and he seems to be the sub week after week after week. King didn't impress me last week. He got towed up by Cal Wilkie, who was significantly shorter than him. So I think the Freo defence, with Hayden Young, Luke Ryan, I think they'll be able to take the Gold Coast forward line and keep them to a lowish score, and then attack going the other way with Brayshaw, Sarong and co. I think Giant Miss might have a decent game and kick a few goals too. So I've just gone with the sports bet special, and probably only because this is a free hit sports bet special. I've gone Freo just to win at $1.59, and I've put in the under 178.5 at $1.17, paying $2.
Yeah. I've gone the opposite way.
Oh, excellent. How was this?
I haven't gone the opposite in terms of the money line, but it's not the opposite completely, but I've gone the over. I think that, it's a smaller ground, and the bookies had it, as you said, at 157, which I actually think is quite low. It's a narrow ground. Fremantle have got to have to shift their forward, shift the football around. They're going to have to take more risks up the middle. The way that they've set up that forward line, actually, I think it's going for more running through the middle, long bombs. It's a more narrow ground, as we've spoken about, which I think is going to be a higher scoring sort of ground. Gold Coast are quite a high scoring team. If you look at the last, this is 2 out of 4 games that they've played, Fremantle have gone over that 160 mark, despite them being quite a low scoring sort of team, as well as Gold Coast. 3 out of the 4 have gone over that 160 mark.
Gold Coast haven't contributed to that though.
No, but I think that they will this week, and that's why I've gone the over 157.5. And I think Noah Anderson, that midfielder running through.
You're going for 20 plus.
Oh no, I haven't gone for 20 plus. I've just gone him for anytime goal scorer. So he kicked 1 in all of his games. Him running through the middle, Pez. He, on a smaller ground, he's kicked 2, 2, 1, 4, and I think 3 out of his 4 games, he's been up in his scoring shots of +3. I love the odds that I get at $2 for that, Pez. $2. Sorry, $3.30, and I've put 2 units on that one.
Stick with the 20 plus for Noah Anderson with your little over there, and it'll be a better bet, I reckon.
No better bet. You're full of shit. So let's get on to the Richmond-Sydney game, the Friday night spectacular. Richmond taking on Sydney. 251 outsiders are the Tigers, 151 the Swans. -11.5 is the line. The over-under, 167.
Yeah, this is a really hard game to read for me. So Tom Lynch is really important to Richmond. And you saw how inconsistent Richmond are, because they kicked 9 goals in a row against the Dogs in the second quarter to lead at halftime there, and then capitulated, and the Dogs came back, and it was a close game in the end, only a 5-point game. But I had to try here, to try with Sportsbet, to try and go, you know what? I want to take advantage of the special while there's a free bonus bet there in case it loses, but I couldn't hit the mark. I couldn't hit the $2 mark. So I tried to have a look at my man Chad Warner, who let me down the other week. $1.22 for 20. He's had 30, 15, 19 and 30. So you look at that inconsistency there. I think he may get 20 plus. So that's one of the legs I was going to have. Taranto 20 plus, 32, 28, 29 and 27. That's just a given with Taranto, and he does kick the ball nice and high as well. Jaden Short for 15, coming back into the side. I think be a little bit careful with Liam Baker if you've got him for 25 plus or even 20 plus, because Short will be the one getting used outside of defence. He's only played the 2 games, 17 and 20, and then Lloyd 20 plus, 28, 24, 21 and 20 at $1.17. That only gives me $1.72. So I'm not playing. No bet here for me at the moment. I'll see if I can find anything tomorrow, but I doubt it, so I'm just going to leave it alone.
I doubt it. After we just done our 11 and 15 bets from the week before, after we said no play.
Game, I doubt it, because I'm not too keen on a result in this one, and the teams have been a little bit inconsistent for me.
They have been. I really like the value in Sydney in this one, and if the Sportsbet special wasn't going on, I'd probably be looking at Sydney just for the heads out win. I think that they need to respond after last week. Richmond, whilst they get Cochin probably back, Lynch is probably out for the season with that injury. They've got
Season.
Yep. That's the talk on there. So he's probably out for a long time.
It's 6 weeks, but
The season will be done there. I think Richmond aren't really using Hopper and Taranto the way they should be. They're still trying to work that out. And also no ruck. I think no ruckman really hurts them as well. They're not able to control that pill. But what I've done is I've gone a 3-leg same-game multi with Sportsbet. Of course, obviously that free hit. 1 leg fails, money back. Actually, do you know what? All legs can fail. Still get my money back, which isn't going to happen, Pez, because I'm very confident in this one. I've got Daniel Rioli to get 20 or more disposals. He's all games this year, he's gone over 20 and 6 of the last 10, including his move into that midfield last year and the way that they're changing up things. I've gone Callum Mills to get 20 disposals, 8 out of the last 10 and 22 out of the last 27 games. The last 2 years, he hits that quite regularly, and I think that they're going to use him similar to the way they have in the last couple of weeks. Pretty confident with that one. And the last leg is probably my bigger leg, is Jack Riewoldt to score 2 or more goals, Pairs, with Lynch out and then resting him last week. I think it's going to be a vocal point. I
just said the word.
I know, it's been I think he's going to be at the forefront of their forward line, not only resting him last week, so he wasn't injured last week, just so he could get a good run at it. In the 5 games last year where Lynch was out, he averages 3 more scoring shots and has been proven to kick 2 or more. In the last 2 games, he's kicked 2+, so I love the value in that one. I've gone 2 units at 287 with Sportsbet, so that's a nice little one to bank for you.
Yeah, I don't know about the bank, but
I do.
I'll be a little bit careful on Rioli because they've got a couple of other players with Short coming back in as well. Interesting to see if Rioli's the trusted kick-out man from defence or if Short takes that back over.
Nah, I love that. Love the odds for that one, Pez. Love that one, and that's going to get up, so don't you worry about that one.
Good on you. That goes for Friday. Sportsbet special is over. And we head
depends when you read it and what you screenshot, but it's meant to be over. All right, let's get into the Brisbane and North Melbourne game. This one is at Adelaide Hills Oval, one of the outskirts venues. $1.19 favourites are the Lions, $4.70 outsiders North Melbourne, minus 28.5 is the line, over under 160.5.
Yeah, if they had this special, I would have really liked to have a look at some of the Brisbane Lions forwards for 3+ or things like that. But no value sitting there at the minute at $1.19. With the line that big as well, you don't know how long North Melbourne are going to put in that effort for and what happens. I think Brisbane need to put a stamp on this and get a really good win. They've got a few fans I heard during the week that are actually from there they're going to the game as well. So I think it'll be a bigger Brisbane Lions crowd than North Melbourne. They're in Adelaide in the outskirts, but I think Brisbane will win. I think they should get the job done quite easily, but there's no bet or no value in it for me at the moment.
Yeah, it's in these games that don't involve Adelaide teams are really tough. I mean, Brisbane taking on North Melbourne at a sort of a local venue, basically, it's really hard to say. I like some of the value with some of the Brisbane forwards, but their forwards haven't been trusted, so they're too inconsistent. I think that's where you could probably find some value. I know that Danaher to kick 2 or more was sitting about $1.90, $2.20 for 3 or more. That's probably where you'd be looking, but again, who knows what Danaher you're going to get. So I think that if you got have a bit of a ping on some of the Brisbane Lions forward players, you'll be able to get some value there, because I think they're going to run up that score against the North Melbourne. But otherwise, for me, no bet, a lean towards some sort of play in the Brisbane forwards to kick multiple goals.
Yeah, speaking of Danaher, he did respond from his really poor week the week before in the ruck, secondary ruck, 20 disposals and 2 goals. So he was everywhere, and I think that might be the role for him to actually motivate him a little bit to get around the ground and not be so goal hungry.
But sometimes you just need to get the pill into your hands a couple of times, and getting that secondary ruck and being able to get a touch on it sounds so stupid, but you're forced to run with the ball, you're forced to get moving, and that's one of the problems that he's had in that forward line is you're just so stagnant.
It changes their team structure as well, because Darcy Fort goes out as a tall, and then they can put another small in, another midfielder, and their team structure just gets a hell of a lot better.
I mean, they looked much better at home last week, Brisbane. They looked a lot better.
They were only playing Collingwood.
But now they're playing North Melbourne in Adelaide. So it'll be very interesting to see how they respond if they can get back-to-back solid wins.
Well, they haven't had an away win this year, so 2 at home wins and 2 away
well, they're the home
losses.
team. They're the home team. They won the coin flip. They're the home team. All right, let's get on to the other game here. Essendon taking on Melbourne. I love the value in some of this game here, Pez. Essendon, $3.80 outsiders. Melbourne, $1.27 favourites. Minus 23.5 is the line. Over under 157.5, Pez. I think the odds here are quite inflated because Essendon's soft draw and them, only having that one loss and to St Kilda. But I think there is a lot of value to be had in Melbourne in this one.
Yeah, so
Heap of value.
Who have Essendon beaten? They've beaten Hawthorn. They
No
beat
one.
GWS at Etihad last week.
No one.
And then who was the other one? Did they beat Gold Coast maybe?
No,
yeah, they did.
They did.
They beat Gold
and
Coast.
against Gold Coast and GWS, the expansion clubs, SD ruggled for 3 quarters. I think there is a lot of value with Melbourne.
Sitting in there, I don't rate Essendon very highly, as listeners would know anyway, and they're playing against the Melbourne side. So the only thing here is it's at a neutral venue, which is a little bit of an unknown. And Melbourne do have to travel back from Western Australia. So they travel back from Western Australia.
They would have gone straight there, surely, wouldn't they?
They caught the red eye.
Yeah.
No, they caught the red eye back to Melbourne, I'm pretty sure. And then they'll go over this weekend to Adelaide Oval. I just really like the line. I think the line's way too low not to have a bet on it. And instead of going a bet by itself at the minus 22.5, I've gone to Ladbrokes because they've got the same game multi-special with every single team. I've gone it to be over 113.5, and I'll be so surprised if it doesn't get above that. That's the lowest alternate line that Ladbrokes offer there, and that makes it up to $2. But you got to put a three legs in there. So I put Melbourne plus 25.5. So if the total game point source is 114 or more, and Melbourne either win or Essendon win by 1 to 25, I'll still get a bonus bet either way. But I think Melbourne come out and destroy them. Petrarca and Oliver playing really well out of the middle. Brodie Grundy had a really good week last week in the ruck without Max Gawn. And Tom McDonald even fired up forward. So they've just got so many avenues to goal. The way they run and the way their wings are going attacking style of footy, I like them at Adelaide Oval to win by 23 or more.
Yeah, they look so dominant at the moment, Melbourne, Pez. And what's good for your bet there, obviously being at a neutral venue, it's still interstate. Melbourne have won 13 in the last 14 interstate games. So, and then obviously, playing an interstate team, they're obviously playing the home team in those matches. So this is really good, them being a neutral venue against I think a struggling Essendon because they've got soft wins. They've got wins that they should have, and they're acting like they're going to premiership favourite. I love the line in this one, Pez. I haven't put an actual bet in this one, but I have included the line in my my multi, as well as I've got a bonus bet that I've put on later that I've an alternate line, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So love the line for this one. I wouldn't be surprised if that leaks out. So jump on that as early as you can.
Yeah, so if that closes at 28.5, 29.5, I'm not going to be shocked.
No, and it's funny because that 28 and a 28 sort of mark is probably where I have it already. So that's why I think that they get it probably done, pretty easy. But if it reaches out, just be careful and make sure you check that line because it will come in and it will adjust. And just because the line we say they're going to win easy here doesn't mean that what the number is should affect your bet. So just be very careful with it.
Well, the next game is the other Adelaide side, so hopefully they won the toss and they get to be the home team in this one, Sauce.
This is interesting, this one. I don't know what the bookies are thinking this. It must have been the kind of coin flip that has put the odds favourite at Port Adelaide. $1.51 favourites are the Power. Western Bulldogs, 258 outsiders, minus 11.5, 153.5 Pez. At the start of the round, before the odds were released, I actually didn't have this one as clear cut as Port Adelaide. I thought this game would be a lot closer. I think that there's a bit being put into that win against Sydney when Sydney did a lot of things wrong, not Port Adelaide doing a lot of things right.
They got together, they got the win, and they're really happy with it. They have been playing decent at home. They beat Brisbane by 53 points earlier in the year, which is why everyone had them, rating them in the top 4 and things like that. But the Dogs, after a shocking start to the season, have actually redeemed themselves a little bit in the last 2 weeks by getting up and having some good wins. The problem with the Western Bulldogs is they keep leaking multiple goals in a row, 9 goals in a row, Richmond, in that second quarter. You can't afford to do that. They actually could afford to do it last week because they got away with the 4 points. But the Bulldogs, Tom Liberatore, he loves the contested footy in there. I love to watch him play as well. And their midfield is so strong. I think the Bonds having a really good season. Where they struggle is opposite ends of the ground with the key position players. And they need Ugle-Hagan to step up and kick his 3 goals, or they need Rory Lobb to actually contribute a little bit around the ground and up forward as well. And you just can't rely on them. So I like the Bulldogs at their price because I think Port Adelaide should be closer to $1.70. But I'm not going to put my money down on it yet. I do need to see the teams. I need to see how things are travelling over at Adelaide Oval. Have a look at the weather and things like that, and just leave it for the minute.
Yeah, it's interesting you say about them leaking goals. I heard a stat through the week, and I didn't check it or anything. But so apologies if I'm sprouting bullshit basically, which would be no different to what you do every week. But the Western Bulldogs have
Speaking in a mirror.
18 straight games where they've leaked more than 4 goals, right, in a quarter. They're the only team in over the last 18 games that have had a 4-goal quarter for the opposition in 18 straight games, which is pretty huge. And as you said, it's just lapses that they're competitive for so much of the game, and then for whatever reason, maybe it's coaching, maybe it's positional, maybe it's just confidence, but they leak these games and then they put themselves in a position where they're either playing catch-up footy or they're making teams hang around a lot longer than they should. I like the Bulldogs in this one. I would like the line to be about 15, 16 and a half. The 11 and a half I think is a little bit low. I'm going to leave this one, but I will be waiting to see what the team is. As you said, wait to see what the weather's doing, because I think there could be some value in this one once the teams are released and we see exactly who's going to shape up for both teams.
Definitely. We definitely have to wait and see on this one.
All right, get on to the Sunday afternoon. Geez, you were engaged in that one, weren't you, Pez? All right, let's get on to the Geelong versus West Coast this Sunday.
I'm just taking your ticket out of the TikTok video.
I'm actually paying attention this week. Well, I was waiting for, got the camera zoomed on in you for all your funny little looks for when Will Ashcroft gets a kick or mention, Pez.
I'm lucky you don't have a camera under the table.
All right, let's get on to Geelong taking on West Coast. $1.08 favourites are Geelong, the shortest of the round. $8 West Coast, obviously the largest outsiders accordingly. Minus 43.5 is the line. Over under 160.5. Pez, Geelong got their first win last week. Now they head over to Adelaide against a struggling West Coast. Rumour has it, Simpson came out and said that he's probably going to rest some of his young players, which I don't know how you can rest some of your young players. I don't know who's going to play for them because they've been going all right, some of the young fellas, but I don't know how West Coast keep this one close.
Yeah, it's hard to see how they do. It'll be interesting to see if West Coast take a leaf out of Hawthorn's book and try and attack really early and try and get an early lead. But I just don't see it happening. $1.08's way too short for Geelong here. But as I said from my last week's bet on Melbourne, the over 112.5 points, Geelong's is possibly going to be around 114, 115.5 total game points. So I'll keep an eye on that. If it's something that I really like, I'll pop that in there with Jezza Cameron to kick a couple of goals maybe, and he's great to watch.
Is he not one of the best players in the AFL at the moment?
Well, he is.
He's absolutely killing it. He's kicking goals. He's running up the grounds. He's the only reason that Geelong have even been close in a lot of these games.
It would be a very sad sight to see Geelong's percentage if Jeremy Cameron wasn't playing to start this season off.
Yeah, I mean, he's kicked 18 goals basically, and he's been
kept his side
absolutely ruthless out there. And I really love. There's a lot of value to be had in this game. I'm just waiting. I'll talk you through my bet, and then I'll talk about what's going to happen. So, in this one, I think Jeremy Cameron, you can get some absolute value for him to kick multiple goals, but there's not a lot of value to be had if you're looking at the 4+ or the 4 goals to kick 4 goals. He's $2.18. $2.18 to kick 4. So that's not a lot of value, I don't believe. 5 goals is $3.80, 6 goals is $7.50. I actually think what you're better to do is to partner him up and multi him up, and he's kicked goals in 15 of the last 16 quarters. So 3 games straight, he's kicked a goal in every quarter, minus the Gold Coast one in the second quarter, and he had 2 or 3 shots at goal. He averages 4 shots per quarter, basically. At the moment, he's shots on goal obviously doesn't just mean score registers. It's obviously shots on goal. And he's looking absolute continue that form against West Coast, who are struggling. I've gone a 4-leg same game multi, but I haven't put it down yet because I'm waiting for the market to be released on Neds or Lads or Tab, where I can get the 1-leg fail money back. Sportsbet don't have it for the Sunday game, so I'm leaving it there. I think the odds will be roughly about $6.75. It's about $1.65 to kick a goal in quarters 1 and 3, and $1.61 to kick a goals in second quarter or fourth quarter.
Okay.
You partner that up, 4-leg same game multi. He doesn't get a goal in one of those quarters, you get your money back. But otherwise, you're sitting about $6.75. I've played it the last 3 weeks, Pez, and 2 out of those 3 weeks have had some really nice value in the personal account. So I'm hoping that continues form.
Yeah, interesting. I'm interested to have a look at maybe anytime goal scorer first half and then anytime goal scorer second half into 3+ goals to see if that's better than the 4+ odds that they're giving you at the moment. So
there's a whole lot of plays.
Have a bit of play like that.
There is a whole lot of plays you can do with goal scorers. I mean, obviously he's going to be sitting about $2.15, $2.10 to be kicking the most goals. So if you go with him to kick anytime goal scorer, most goals and 3+ goals, you'll be able to basically gets a little bit of more value and has some insurance in some of those other agencies like Neds or Lads or whatever. So there's a whole lot of plays to have from there.
Yep. So keep an eye out on that for the Sunday. Then we head to GWS versus Hawthorn.
We do. This will be. I mean, we can talk about it being at Norwood. That's probably one of the things we can talk about. But
you're not interested in this game?
Not really. Probably the over/under total points is probably what I'd be looking at for this one. GWS taking on Hawthorn. Let's get through the odds first. $1.42. So GWS have been. They're competitive. As of recent, again, they haven't really played that many people, and they've sort of stayed relevant. Hawthorn 288 outsiders after an absolute Easter Monday thumping. -14.5 is the line. Over under 161.5 pairs. I'm not really interested in this game. I've got no plays. Maybe a lean towards the over. No interest.
Only the second half of Easter Monday was a thrashing.
65-0 third quarter, so that's fine.
But I'm actually really intrigued in this game, not in terms of odds or betting or anything, just because I want to see how GWS go here as favourite against Hawthorn, because they should beat up on them pretty badly. Yeah. They should beat them by 5+ goals. And the line will be quite low with them being at $1.42. So
14.5.
I think there's a play somewhere around, even with an alternate line -9.5 and then a total game points somewhere, or even just GWS straight up and do a total somewhere. So I'll be looking at that on Sunday, thinking about who will take kickouts or take the intercept marks for Hawthorn, and go from there, because I think the ball should be in GWS's forward half a lot more than it is Hawthorn, but no play at the moment.
It's obviously at Norwood Oval, and we spoke earlier being quite a narrow ground, so looking for those contested players in that one. One of the reasons I'm off them, Pez, is because GWS, and I said 2 years ago I wasn't going to bet on them, and I haven't really since. So continually to break my heart after we painted the town orange, so I'm steering clear of that one. I do sort of agree with what you're saying to that. -14.5 looks pretty juicy at the moment.
Against the Hawthorn side,
but they only play a half a footy for Hawthorn, so they're obviously tanking pretty hard at the moment, trying
maybe a second half line.
Maybe that's probably where the play is, but again, you have to wait to see the list. Anyway, let's finish off with really disappointing. It's going to be the game of the round. This would have absolutely blown the roof off at Marvel, or even the MCG if you would have got their highest crowd, probably for St Kilda for a long time. Collingwood taking on St Kilda. Easily the match of the round. $1.44 favourites are the Magpies. 280 outsiders, the Saints. -14.5 is the line. Over under 161.5 pairs. You're sitting top of the ladder, unbeaten at the moment, coming up against a one-loss Collingwood. This is going to be an absolute cracker.
That's what it's been hyped up as, but watching St Kilda live for the first time last week, I think they really struggled in the first quarter without that key position forward to play there. So whispers of Membry possibly coming back in, who would be a super target to put around the mosquito fleet, I guess you could say, all the smaller players who are running around there trying to kick goals. Mitch Owen's definitely my favourite player to watch at the moment. He took a huge mark last week and he's kicked multiple goals in multiple games. But Collingwood, we'll see what they do with their ruckman and what's going to happen there, because they really struggled there with their midfield last week. Dacos, for whatever reason, he just gets let off the leash by Brisbane. They just said, all right, go off. You can have your 40 touches. He kicked 2 goals as well, so he was very damaging, but they just let him go for some reason because they were worried about other players. So it'd be interesting to see if the Saints, try and put a little hold on the Dacos brothers there, but I'm worried about Darcy Moore and that intercept marking. I want to see how St Kilda can enter 50 because that will make a big point of how this game is played out.
It definitely will. It's going to be interesting how Ross Lyon sort of responds to that Nick Dacos, and it actually plays where I'm probably going to be leaning towards my bet. I like the value, and it's not out yet because on the actual day they'll put out this sports bet will put on the under-over player disposals. I think if you lean towards Nick Dacos's under this week,
Oh, it's dangerous.
I think that he averages so many uncontested possessions, and we saw last week that no one just played on him. He's probably going to be sitting around 33, 34 and a half, and I think that with the way that Ross Lyon plans for him, there's no chance he's letting a second-year player just run absolutely wild. They'll have a team defence ready for him because that's the way they structure. So I think that if you could look for him for the under this week, that's probably where I would lean. You're only going to get $1.90 odds, and it literally is a bit of a coin flip because you don't know if they're going to do what Brisbane did.
He takes kickouts as well.
He does, but you're not going to have the ball that often anyway, so you don't have to worry about that. Sorry, Pez. But I think that's probably where the lean is. He averages 20 uncontested possessions per week. That doesn't happen against a Ross Lyon side, I don't think. Someone as you said, because it's not like he's going back to like Tom Mitchell when Tom Mitchell just used to get 40 and not really kill you. He's so damaging and he's so influential in terms of the way the flow of the game's going.
What he does is he gets multiple possessions in the one play. So he'll get the handball over the top and he'll run through. And Brisbane weren't manning him up on that. So if St Kilda do that, I think his line will be somewhere around 31.5. So we'll see what it is when it comes out.
That'd be interesting.
If it's any higher than that, you could make an argument for the play on the under, but we will have to wait and see on that.
Well, the inflated 38 last week helps with the under, and that's what I think when you average it out, it probably gets about 33, but his true line should probably be about 32.5.
Well, the 29.5 was last week.
Yeah.
So I think with the 38 disposal game, it goes up 2 or 3 and goes from there. The other thing I'm interested to look at is Callum Wilkie. He's playing in his hometown of Adelaide. He is a really good one-on-one defender and one of the most underrated. He was the captain of the Saints on the weekend, and he's just an absolute gem to watch in one-on-one. One of the best one-on-one players that is out there at the moment. He just lacks a little bit of height and sometimes strength against the really big monsters, like if he was playing on a Hawkins. But just a shout out there because he's my most impressive watch.
Yeah, settle down, Pez. It's not a St Kilda podcast. We don't need to be talking about the Saints.
Stop it. It's your little bullshit.
All right, let's get on to our multis and potentially our cheekies, Pez. I've got a multi with my Ladbrokes Monday bonus bet that I had down. Just two alternate lines: Geelong minus 28.5, the alternate line, and Melbourne minus 14.5, the alternate line. Pez, that gives me odds of I don't know. I haven't written it down, so I think it's about $2.30. The odds. Well, my phone's using to record, so I can't even check it. I think it's about $2.30, but I'll put that out on our Twitter page to confirm that. But it's a bonus bet anyway, Pez, so it's a free hit. So I'll make that bet back from last week.
I've got a bonus bet to put down as well, and it's a little bit of a mixed multi. So do not put this out on TikTok because you'll confuse everyone. They got confused at my Richmond bet last week.
Another pussy bet, is it?
Well, this is in the Adelaide Carlton game tonight. Over 142.5 points. I like that. In the Brisbane North Melbourne game, over 132 points in the narrow game of Norwood. Brisbane to win, third leg. Fourth leg, Essendon Melbourne over 123.5 points. I think it skyrockets over there. And then Geelong race to 6 goals against the Eagles. I think they'll get to 6 goals before the Eagles do. That's $2.05. And that's my bonus bet from last week, from the Geelong game.
So those overs you're putting on are alternate overs, are they?
Yep.
Yeah, I actually
lowered them down.
I think that's quite a good bet, Pez. It's quite easy to follow along with. I had only had one hand full of fingers up. So
only 5 legs. I didn't want to go too many. I can't fit many more in the spreadsheet.
It's got the old the memes going through with all the different patterns going through. That would be me trying to keep up, usually, Pez. But I kept up with that one. I don't mind the value in that one. I've gone another multi, Pez, and I've actually put 1 unit on this one. I've gone with, as I spoke earlier about with Sportsbet, if you put 3 legs down, you can actually use your bet return, and it's a little bit
cheeky,
which we haven't had that often here, Pez. Okay. But 1 leg fails, I get a bonus bet. I've gone Sydney just straight up to the win. I think that they get the job done against Richmond. Melbourne minus 23.5 is that a straight out line before that reaches out, and Geelong minus 43.5. 1 unit on that one, 5.45 odds.
Say it again.
No.
So Geelong minus 43.5.
Yep.
What was the leg before that?
Melbourne minus 23.5. That just straight out line.
Yep.
And Sydney to win.
Okay.
So the reason it's so high is $2.90s. So $1.90 for the line, $1.90 for the line. They're not alternates; they're straight lines.
And then you got Sydney, who's
just
at $1.50,
just to do the win.
$1.55. So, yeah, well, excellent. That is very cheeky. And we're going to leave it at that because I've got my little bonuses on there. We'll have to get this all ready and out there, Sauce, for Thursday night footy. It's going to be exciting for the gather round. So best of luck in your bets this week, and make sure you jump on socials at Behind the Bound on Twitter, TikTok, or TikTok especially. Have a look at the comments if you want to have a laugh.
TikTok is absolutely flourishing. We just hit a nice little a little milestone. So make sure you jump on there and drop us some helpful comments.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's given us some content for this show. So to jump on, keep pumping away at Pez's pussy bets.
Put the content out there. Follow along with some pussy bets if you want to on Pez. Peace out.
I'm still Sauce. We'll catch up next time, guys.
Now you're gone.